Okay, so for the final installment of this sprint start analysis, will be in the sagittal plane. So the top will be the rear view of the athlete's start, while the bottom will be the view of her start and sprint. So if you look at the top, first thing right off the bat that you kind of notice is something we hit on a little bit earlier, is going to be her hand placement. So if you look at where her hand is, it's going to be disassociated from her shoulder. So what we want is to essentially move it to the left just a little bit, to directly underneath that shoulder, provide that stability for that takeoff. Again, same thing with the arm, is going to be the leg. So you see where the leg is, and then you see essentially where the hip is. See, it's not quite in line. So this is, again, needs to essentially going to be shifting this leg over just a couple inches, just so it's in line with that hip. So again, another big thing we all notice from this view here, which we mentioned before, is going to be that hand placement. Whereas it needs to be in a more pocket of the hip to provide that better momentum and actually initiate that start clock time. Alright, so once we look at the bottom, again, you can see this is still something that she's probably going to struggle with for comfort-wise, just because not really comfortable with this position just yet, this being her first time doing a three-point stance. However, it does look like her back leg is slightly more below the hip area, in line with the hips, so that slight little has been adjusted, as you can see. Alright, so let's take a look at her sprint from the from the sagittal plane view. This view is actually going to be very interesting, as you're going to see a lot of something I want to be hitting on in a few seconds. So the first thing you see is going to see that forward lean. That shin angle is going to drop, allowing her to get a little bit more lean in that momentum. I would like to see her lunge a little bit more forward, and this driving farther out. Her initial foot placement was approximately only 1.5 yards out from the start line. So right here, actually, so this is something that I noticed that I definitely want to hit on, was the knee as well as the hand. So it is very common in athletes to see when moving that hand, using it as momentum for your sprints, if it's crossing this midline, more than likely the knee does the same thing as well. It's a disassociation / association part of anatomically positioning yourself. So as you can see, her right hand is right on the midline, almost crossing it, whereas her left knee is crossing that midline as well. And you will actually see this throughout her sprint. So her left is actually crossing the line more, as well as her right. So as she's landing, she's literally turning her knee back out to have a proper landing. This movement in itself is very inefficient for sprinting. So ideally what you want to see is that hand maintain essentially its sectors, which in turn you should see the knees maintaining its sectors as well. So ideally this is where the knee wants to be. As you can see, the knee caving in here, disassociation from the hip on the right side, as well as the left side. So this is something we need to work on, that driving out, as well as maintaining those proper lanes for those arms and proper extension in order to provide that momentum, which will inevitably lead her to have her to have a better biomechanics of moving forward.